What's going on, guys? We are giving you the top 5 best SMGs for Warzone 2. I know you guys are going to genuinely appreciate this. I'm going to do it in top 5 order. So with the number 5, we're actually going to be starting with the MX9. Now this SMG is amazing in its own way, and the fact that it is an overall fantastic weapon. So it doesn't beat every single SMG in their own respective category, but overall it is great. It has a decent fire rate, very good range, very good recoil control, and very easy to use. Also has decent amount of ammo, and I think that this build is the best build with the tuning. So I put on the X10 RR40 and I tuned it to max out the bullet velocity, increase the recoil smoothness by 0.86 ounces. This helps with the sound suppression, bullet velocity, damage range, and recoil smoothness at the cost of aim down sight speed, aiming stability, and that's not a big deal. Move on to the 508mm rear guard. Max out the damage range and increase the recoil steadiness by 0.19 pounds. This helps the damage range, hip fire accuracy, and bullet velocity at the cost of aim down sight speed and hip recoil control. We put on the VLK Laser 7MW. This helps the aim down sight speed, aiming stability, and sprint to fire speed at the cost of the laser being visible during ADS, so just keep that in mind. Put on the Slimline Pro and then the 32 round mag. And just show you guys how good this is. Like I said, this is just an overall very amazing weapon to use. Not the best in any of its really respected category. It's just a very good SMG to use if you have it and don't have anything else unlocked. Number 4, we're moving on to the Vaznev, and this one's pretty interesting just because you can tune it to make it pretty competitive, but I always believe that there is a better SMG. Now, that's why I say this is number 4, but I'm going to give you guys a really good build. We're going to start with the X10 RR40. This helps with the sound suppression, bullet velocity, damage range, and recoil smoothness. You're going to increase the bullet velocity just about to 0.44, maybe 0.35. And then the recoil smoothness, you increase it to about 0.35. If you want to continue doing it, then just wait until that spike continues popping. So that's around the 0.45 ounces to 0.50 ounces. Now for the barrel, you can use the CAS 1 381mm or the SA, whichever one you want to use, completely up to you, but the SA gives you less movement speed. Now that's the one I choose to go with. It helps with the bullet velocity, recoil control, damage range, and hip fire accuracy. This you can increase the damage range, so that's what I'm going to do. And then the recoil steadiness, we can increase that just slightly if it has any benefit. Now the major benefit looks like it's costing more aim walking speed, but in my opinion you should probably stop somewhere around the 20s region, and that'll be pretty decent. Now the other downside is this only has 30 bullets, and you can put it on a 45 round mag and that'll be completely fine, but you're not going to get a super amount of mobility. So this build is not a mobility build. This is pretty much the build until you get to the other 3 weapons. So we're going to move on. I'm going to give you guys something just to kind of counteract with the fact that it's not really that mobile. Coriolis 44V3, pretty useful. And then last but not least, we can give you either a stock or a rear grip. I don't really suggest using anything else. So if you're going to use a stock, I would suggest using the Oprazat stock just to help out with the mobility a little bit. If you don't want to use that, you can use the FTAC Elite stock just for more recoil control, but I think it already has decent recoil. So I'll put this on there, increase the aiming auto stability just to balance it out somewhere around 1.5. And if you want to have aim walking steadiness, you can increase that, but I just don't really think it's necessary. So just show you guys how decent this is. This is the number 4 weapon. Still a pretty decent weapon to use. At super long range, it's not really ideal just because it actually bounces too much. But number 3, we're moving on to the Minibak, and this weapon is actually incredible. So this has 64 bullets just in its base form. The magazine that you can actually put on it, it's not really worth having because it already has low recoil, and this build is very solid for taking on multiple enemies at once. So I put on the X10 RR40, max out the bullet velocity, increase the recoil smoothness by 0.45 ounces. This helps sound suppression, bullet velocity, damage range, and recoil smoothness at the cost of aim down sight speed and aiming stability. Now we moved on to the Bach 9 279mm barrel for the barrel, and we max out the damage range and max out the aim walking speed. We don't max out the recoil steadiness just because this is already a low recoil weapon like I said before. This helps the damage range, hip fire accuracy, and the bullet velocity at the cost of aim down sight speed and hip recoil control. You're going to put on the Markiv R7 stock, max out the aiming out stability, and then decrease the weight to increase the aim down sight speed by 1.94. This helps crouch movement speed, sprint speed, and aim down sight speed at the cost of some recoil control, which you're not even going to notice. And last but not least, put on the True Tac Grip. This helps sprint to fire speed. I didn't change the width. I increased the weight by 0.52 ounces to increase the recoil steadiness. At that point, it's no longer beneficial. Just show you guys how good this is. We're going to let everything line up. Incredibly low recoil, very useful weapon to use, and honestly, I think the recoil is decent enough to actually take on long distance weapons, long distance enemies, and you still have some left over. So I mean, if that's something you want to use, I highly recommend giving it a try. It's not perfect for long range, but it's more so ideal for the short range gunfights. Once you get to the long range gunfights, your shots have to be on point or you're going to be missing like that. Number 2, we're going to be moving on to the Lachmann Sub, and this weapon is so good. It was good since the beginning of this game, and I still think that it's amazing. So we're going to put on the FTAC M Sub 12-inch for the bullet velocity, damage range, recoil control, and hip fire accuracy at the cost of aim down, sight speed, movement speed, and hip recoil control. Now we're going to increase the damage range just because it's kind of important with this gun. Make sure you have it around 30 inches. Recoil steadiness, we can increase it, have it somewhere around 0.22. Now for the laser, you can put on the VLK Laser 7MW for the aim down, sight speed, aiming stability, sprint to fire speed, and laser being visible in ADS. You could change that up, like you could double up with the stock and rear grip and underbarrel if you didn't want to have the laser. There's a bunch of things you could really do. You could put a muzzle on there, but this is just for this build. For the stock, we're going to put on the LM stockless mod. Don't worry, you're not going to suffer the penalties for this. We're just using this for the aim down, sight speed, sprint to fire speed, movement speed, and hip recoil control. I know that the aim recoil does spike up like crazy, but that's why we have the Lachmann TCG10. Now with this, put on aiming idle stability, increase it about 0.25. At that point, I don't think it benefits much more. And then recoil steadiness, you're going to increase that. Now the handling is going to go down, but remember, you just put something on that basically maxes that out along with mobility. So I mean, you could just max it all the way out, but I think the best choice is somewhere between 75 and 80. So we're going to have that right there. And once we have that, you can put on a 40-round mag. And just show you guys how amazing this is. This is really good short to medium range. Long range is not really the best. You're going to have to end up burst firing it, and I just don't really suggest doing that. So stick to the short to medium range and you'll do much better. I think it comes in no surprise, but the #1 SMG is the Fennec. This thing is so incredible, and this build gives you no smoke at all. So we're starting out with the ZLR 16.5 ignition barrel. Helps with the damage range, bullet velocity, hip fire accuracy, and recoil control. Now the cons are aim down, sight speed, hip recoil control, and movement speed. Not a big deal. We increase the damage range by 0.25 inches and the recoil steadiness by 0.50 pounds. We're going to put on the VLK Laser 7MW. This helps us aim down, sight speed, aiming stability, sprint to fire speed at the cost of the laser being visible in ADS. No biggie. Put on the Agile Assault 7. Do not use the do not use the FTAC stock cap, just because you're going to get too much recoil and it's going to be adverse to the effect that you really want. The Agile Assault 7 is great just because you have sprint speed, aim walking speed, crouch movement speed, and aim down sight speed, and the recoil isn't bad. Increase the aiming idle stability and max it out, and increase the aim down sight speed to negative 2.06 ounces. Put on the Fennec rubber grip. This helps with the sprint to fire speed and aim down sight speed at the cost of recoil control. You're not even going to notice it. I didn't change it with. I increased the recoil steadiness to 0.42. And last but not least, put on the Fennec 45-round mag. And just show you guys how amazing this is, check this out. Literally melts from short to medium range. Long range, you're going to have to burst fire, but I mean, the accuracy is fantastic. This is something that you genuinely want to have in basically every single one of your class setups, just because it really is just that gun to use. So make sure you're using it. Give it a try. If you're not going to try it out, at least use #2, which is the MP5, or you're going to get shredded in Warzone 2.